Good morning, children. Are you all happy and safe? We are praying for your good health, children, and I hope you are fine and good. Today, we are going to start the new lesson, Environmental Economics. Before we start the new lesson, shall we recall whatever we have learned in the previous class? We have learned causes of inflation, effects of inflation, effects on production, and effects on distribution. Then, the measures taken to control inflation, measures taken by the government to control inflation. Then, the meaning of deflation, disinflation, and stagflation. And then, the meaning of trade cycle and the four phases of trade cycle. They are boom, recession, depression, and recovery. All these things we have learned in the previous class. Children, before we proceed further, shall we learn the meaning of environment? The word environment has been derived from the French word environner. It means to surround. The word environment has been derived from the French word environner. It means to surround. The meaning of environment. Environment is the natural world where the land, air, water, and in which people, animals, and plants live. Environment plays an important role in the healthy lives of human beings. It matters because it is the only home for humans and it provides air, food, and other needs. So, the meaning of environment has been derived as all the condition, circumstances and influences surrounding and affecting the organism. Organism means a living thing. Maybe it is so small that we have to use the special instrument. Organism and the development of an organism or the group of organism. This is the meaning of environment. Children, shall we learn the meaning of environmental economics? Environmental economics is an area where it is believed that the environmental has an impact on the economy. This is an exciting field of economics to study. This environmental economics will help you understand some important and controversial issues such as the recycling, nuclear power, and the climate change policy. That is why the meaning of economics is given here. Environmental economics is an area of economics where the financial impact of environmental issues and policies. This is the meaning of environmental economics. Children, shall we learn the meaning of ecosystem? An ecosystem includes all living things, plants, animals, and organisms in a given area interacting with each other and also with your non-living environment, that is soil, weather, earth, etc. An ecosystem is the foundation of the biosphere and they determine their entire earth system. Children, let us learn the linkage between economy and environment. Man's life is interconnected with the living and the other non-living things. In fact, the life of human being is shaped by his living environment. So, the relationship between economy and environment is generally explained in the material balance model. And it has been developed by Alan Nees. This material balance approach has been explained by Alan Nees. In any production system, what goes in must come out. And this is known as the material balance approach or the material balance principle. What goes in must come out, and this is the material balance approach or the material balance principle. This material flow diagram implies that Mass inputs must equal mass outputs. Mass input must equal mass output. It means that whatever the resources extracted from the environment eventually becomes unwanted waste and pollutants. Whatever the resources extracted from environment eventually becomes unwanted waste and pollutants. Production of output by firms from inputs resulting in discharge of solid, liquid and gaseous waste. Similarly, a waste resulting from consumption activities also produces waste. And in other words, we can say that all the material and energy taken from the environment used for production and consumption activities, again it is returned back to the environment as waste. And this is known as material balance approach. In its simple form, the material balance approach has been given in the form equation. Children, as it is said in the material balance model, from this diagram it is clear that the environment, that is raw material, that is raw material we extract from the environment, we use it in the production and also in the household sector, and they send out all the waste to the nature. W1 is the waste from production and W2 is the waste from the household sector, and that is what we have learned in the material balance model. Input is must equal output. R is the raw material should be equal to W1 and W2. So it is clear that mass inputs must equals mass output. R is equal to W1 plus W2. Then environment is the supplier of all resources like renewable and the non-renewable, so that environment act as a sink for cleaning up all the waste. And households and firms are interconnected with the environment and they are also interconnected too. Household and firms depend on nature for resources. Both the household and firms send out residuals of consumption and production to nature. But remember that nature has the power to assimilate all forms of waste. But this power is conditional. There is a limit for everything. The earth has reached the saturation point and it cannot clean up all the several forms of waste. Remember, the earth can also non-cooperate. Children, shall we learn the new term called as environmental goods? Environmental goods are typically non-market goods. It includes clear air, clean water, landscape, green transport infrastructure, public park, urban park, beaches, river, mountain, forest. So if the environmental goods or the services focus on the effect of the exploitation of the economy so that it renders some services. They are preventing or minimizing pollution or repairing damage to air, water and non, so that the environment will not be affected. Children, now we are going to learn the new term called as externalities and the environment. In environmental economics, one of the most important market failure is the negative externalities arising from the production and consumption of goods and services. These externalities occur outside of the market, that is, they affect people not involved in the production and consumption of a good or services. Instead it affects the third party and they are known as spillover effect. So the definition of externalities will be the cost or benefit imposed by the consumption and production activities of the individual on the rest of the society not directly involved in these activity and towards which no payment is made. It means it is not going to affect the persons who are involved in the production and the consumption, but it was going to affect the other person, that is a third parties, for which there is no compensation is given. And the externalities arise from both the production and consumption and it may be beneficial or adverse. The beneficial externalities are called as positive externalities and the adverse externalities are called as negative externalities. Children, now we all know the meaning of externalities. Now we are going to learn the classification of externalities. It may be of consumption and production. So, in the consumption also we have positive consumption externality and negative consumption externality. Now, positive consumption externality. When some residents of a locality hire a private security agency to patrol their area, the other residents of the area also gets benefited without bearing any cost. This is known as positive consumption externality. Negative consumption externality. A person smoking cigarette may get higher satisfaction, but because of that the other person may be affected or he may get dissatisfaction, and the non-smokers also drive into passive smoking. This is known as negative consumption externality. Children, shall we learn the next one, production positive externality? It means the ideal location for beehive is orchards. While bees make honey, they also help in the pollination of apple blossoms. So the benefit accrue to both the producers as well as producers of honey as well as the apple. This is known as the reciprocal untraded interdependency. Another example, suppose training is given for the workers in a company. If those trained workers leave the company and join in the another company, then the later company gets the benefit of skilled workers without incurring any cost of training. This is known as positive production externalities. Now to the next one, negative production externalities. It means it includes pollution generated by the factory and the compensation will not be paid by the factory. For example, the waste sent by the factory, it will mix with the water or it will mix with the river and it gets water pollution. And the waste, the dust or the smoke mix with the air and they will get air pollution. The innocent people are affected because of the air and water pollution. And water becomes contaminated and the people use that water or the animal drinks water and the innocent community bears the external cost for which it is not going to be compensated. The factory is not going to give any compensation, and this is known as negative production externalities. Children, shall we recall whatever we have learned today? We have learned meaning of environment, meaning of environmental economics, ecosystem, linkage between economy and environment. That is, it has been explained through the material balance model or approach. Then the environmental goods. Then the meaning of externalities and the classification of externalities. That is, positive consumption externalities, negative consumption externalities, positive production externalities and negative production externalities. I hope you would have understood this, children. Please go through it. Stay safe and happy, children. Thank you.